Unsure if your body and your life are the result of a sequence of random and impossibly perfect biological events, or if you were spawned in the image of an almighty dude in the heavens, or if the source and the point of it all is something else entirely. While it is impossible for me to give you all the answers about everything ever, after all, how can a mere aspect of life possibly understand the infinite and eternal quality of the life itself, which exists within and outside of the bounds of itself? Though I do attempt to drip feed some of the conclusions that I've come to through all of my videos. If you give me a few minutes of your time, I will attempt to present you with a logical argument in favor of reincarnation, which considers consciousness, God, and evolution, and everything else. So let's see if I can help change or make up your mind. Our consciousness is not bound by our biology. The type of awareness that we possess cannot possibly be the result of our physical form, however complex and brilliant it might be. To make my point, let us contemplate for a moment the type of consciousness which is possessed by an animal. And let's use a cat as an example. Undoubtedly, a cat is aware of itself. Its senses provide it with a certain experience of separateness. It can distinguish itself from its environment and from other creatures. It possesses awareness, consciousness, although its awareness is simple, the kind which is born of nature. A cat's behaviors are learned and instinctual. They are the result of experience impacting its brain chemistry and being stored and recalled at the level of the nervous system, as well as being the result of the cat morphogenetic field, which is a scientifically proven kind of energetic memory bank of all the other cats that have ever been and that currently are. This morphogenetic field binds and informs the DNA and the behavior of all cat creatures. This is how the cats evolve together, and this is why cats, however isolated they may be from other cats, all behave in the same general way. They don't have to learn what they are or how they should behave from another physically present cat. They're automatically plugged in and activated on a biological level. This isn't woo-woo, this is actually a thing of science. Humans share a morphogenetic field as well. And if you want to find out more about it, I'll link below a video of me unpacking it. But conscious as they might be, a cat's awareness of itself is limited, it's innate, it's immersive. They know that they are a creature which is separate from the outside world, but they are rather bound by their physical form, very much inside of themselves, looking outward, responding rather instinctively. They very deeply belong to themselves, in themselves, and with their environment. But they never extend their consciousness beyond themselves in order to observe and contemplate themselves. And this is where the consciousness of animals and humans differ. Unlike other creatures, as humans, our consciousness is not bound by our physical form. We are not locked into our bodies, peering out of ourselves and aware of ourselves purely internally. What makes human creatures truly unique and sentient is our ability to extend our awareness beyond our physical bodies and to contemplate ourselves. So this quality alone tells us straight away that our consciousness is not bound by, and so produced solely by, our biological and physical form. You simply cannot contemplate the entirety of a thing from within the thing. From within the thing, you are too deeply immersed and identified with the thing to be able to extend your consciousness beyond the thing's boundaries. As an example, you can only contemplate a stone that you are holding in your hand because you are outside of the stone. You are bigger than the stone, using your senses, which are higher and more complex than the somewhat senseless capacities of the stone, to gain an understanding of it. Imagine for a moment that you were within the stone, entirely locked in and bound by its physical edges. From within, you may have an awareness of your existence relative to the outside environment, but there would be no way for you to assess yourself. Without an expanded and external sensory system, how can you possibly know what color you are? Or what color even is? How can you know that your edges have a certain shape? Because what even is shape? How can you know what weight you are or how you feel against someone's skin? How can you understand all of the separate mineral components that build your little body and how they were impacted by the environment that shaped you over millions of years? I mean, what even is a year? All you would be aware of is your all-consuming and internal state with no external system of measurement. In order to truly contemplate a thing, you must be able to observe it, understand it, and measure it from outside of it. You must be larger than it because from within it, you can't possibly understand it completely. As humans, with the type of consciousness that we possess, we are not only capable of contemplating objects and creatures which are outside of us, we have this extremely unique ability to contemplate ourselves, which means that there is absolutely an aspect of our consciousness which exists outside of or separately from our physical form. We are both the observed and the observer. So, sorry guys, your consciousness is not the byproduct of your DNA or even the morphogenetic field. It cannot be purely biological or physical. You are simply too aware of yourself to be a purely biological creature. Your consciousness is too complex to be born of your DNA and your brain. Every time you contemplate your own behavior, every time you make decisions about the kind of person you want to be, every time you self-reflect, every time you contemplate the meaning of your own existence, every time you consciously go against the status quo, every time you wrestle with yourself, every time your conscience kicks in, every time you are upset or pleased with yourself, you demonstrate that you are more than your human physical creature. You are not just in yourself, you are also on the outside, observing and looking in and making alterations. So what is this part of you that contemplates yourself? Some call it the soul, but consciousness or entified awareness are terms that work as well. But whatever you call it, this part of you is not bound by a physical body. In fact, it is experiencing itself through a physical body. This part of you seeks to understand itself. It's kind of looking at itself in a mirror, and your physical body is its reflection, showing it to itself so that it can be observed, contemplated, and perfected. Because this part of you, your consciousness, which is different to your mind, which is the product of your physical form, is not bound by your biology. This part of you can and does continue to exist without a physical body. When your body perishes, this part continues to exist. It's just like it stopped looking in the mirror for a moment and it becomes deeply introspective and immersed in itself again for a time until it looks in the mirror again. This part of you seeks to know and to understand itself, and the best way to do that is by having a variety of different experiences, peering into a mirror on a multitude of different days from every angle and in every situation. So then, doesn't it make sense that this curious and exploratory version of you would take more than one body? Do you know yourself completely by looking into a mirror once in a lifetime? Absolutely not. You change so much from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And throughout the entire lifetime, your body goes through profound and complete transformations that would be missed if you only looked in the mirror once in a lifetime. And we must also consider that the only way that you can truly understand the stone that is in your hand is by observing other stones. How can you possibly understand the mineral components of one stone or exactly how the environment shaped it if you had never made a complete study of it? In order to understand the mineral components of this stone, you must understand what a mineral component even is. And you must have an encyclopedia of all the mineral components that the stone could possibly be made of. Otherwise, what are you comparing this stone to? What makes it unique? What defines it? In order to understand how the environment shaped this stone, you must observe and contemplate stones that came from other environments and compare the results. How can that conscious part of you, your soul or your awareness, possibly know itself and perfect itself through one single embodiment? Despite what religion teaches, the soul is not called home and judged by God after one life. I mean, how can a God be so cruel as to expect perfection when you've only had the opportunity to glance in the mirror one time? It is simply impossible, and such a God would surely be setting you up for failure. And the soul, your observing awareness, does not cease to be once your physical life ends, for it is not born of your physical body, and so it continues on, comparing your life to a multitude of its other reflections, exploring and unpacking and perfecting itself. This might sound far out, but really, how much more far out is it than a dude residing in a heavenly realm, spawning fresh, infantile soul children from himself, no goddess necessary, where he sends them down into a physical realm to be tempted left, right, and center by Satan, with the absolutely ruthless requirement that they fully master their human and spiritual natures in a manner of decades, lest they spend eternity suffering in hell. How cruel and out of touch with reality, his reality that he apparently created, is this dude? And how much more far out is it than all of this being completely random, coincidental, and pointless? Like, where did all this random shit come from? And when we observe how things cyclically unfold in nature, perhaps what I'm saying will seem a little less far out. So everything in nature evolves, right? Nothing in our physical realm simply ceases to be. Nothing is called into existence once and then falls away. Everything in nature is in motion, being recycled and changing form. The tree, once it perishes, ceases to be in its current form, but its essence and its body continue on, returning to the earth to be recycled and recombined in new and unique configurations. When we perish, our bodies return to the earth to be taken up by the soil, to provide nutrition for a plant, to be consumed by an animal, to enter into another human body. In fact, in every moment of your life, you take in new parts of nature and you slough off parts of yourself, returning them to nature. You are in a constant state of exchange. In fact, every 7 years, your body is built completely anew. You have recycled and rebuilt every single cell in your body, quite literally reborn without losing consciousness, your old body returned to the earth and re-entering the cycles of death and rebirth that rule this place. Everything in nature is in motion. Everything is reborn. Nothing comes into existence, has one opportunity to be a part of one embodiment, and then ceases to be. Evolution is a spiral. It is circular. And why should we suppose that different laws apply to us? Why should we suppose that we are created anew, have one shot at life, nail it the first time, and then either cease to be or just move on? How empty, how incomplete would the experience of life be if this were the case? everything else in existence gets the opportunity to cycle through all types and expressions and forms of life, evolving, changing, and perfecting through extensive experience, and we just get to do it once? Like, how long do you suppose did it take for humanity to develop language? How likely is it, DNA and morphogenetic field considered, of course, that we can wake up in a body and perfect language in a few short years? How do some children come into existence preloaded with incredible skills and inclinations that could not possibly have been sourced from their environment and their DNA? How many children can recall their past lives before their parents impose the one life theory on them and implore them to come out of their fantasy reality and join them in the real world? Why do you have the unique preferences and challenges that you do? Chance? A God that bestowed you with them on a whim because it took his fancy that day? You come preloaded with this stuff. Like everything in nature, your existence is cyclical. Your growth and your evolution is a spiral. You change your nature and you change your form. You have many goes. You make mistakes and you are not damned to hell. You observe, you figure out where you went wrong, and you have another go. You have ample opportunity to perfect yourself and to contribute to the collective evolution of humanity here. So nothing about you is random. It is the precise and deliberate manifestation and representation, the culmination of your spiraling journey through time. And that journey does not originate or end with you. The nature of your consciousness and the laws of nature itself make this evident. With your mind in its currently boggled state, now is the perfect time to drop into your heart and feel for yourself. The physically oriented mind can't get you there. The mind is bound by form and is limited by itself. It cannot contemplate what it can't grasp and wrap itself around. And how can the mind possibly grasp and wrap itself around its source, which is infinite and eternal in its nature? The mind can't get outside of itself to observe the source of all life. It just can't be done. The truth can't be grasped. Truth already is. So we must learn to release ourselves, to be impressed upon and received by truth, becoming one with it. So take what I've shared with you today and hold it in your own heart, contemplate it through the mechanism of feeling, and feel into whether any of it rings true for you. And if I got you a little bit closer to the truth of your essence, then I am truly grateful to have gone on this journey with you. But even if I just got you thinking about it and asking the questions, then my job here is done. If you'd like more information, and if these are the kinds of topics that really interest you, I highly recommend subscribing and following along, and not just checking out the videos that are to come, but looking back through my videos and catch up on what I've shared previously. If you're interested in taking a seriously deep dive into life, the universe, and everything, then I highly recommend checking out my playlist. It's called My Book, where I take you through some of the main chapters of a book that I wrote on healing, wholeness, and God realization, where I do my best to unpack some of the mysteries of life itself. Always a joy to have you with me. Feel free to share any insights or rebuttals that you have in the comments, and I'll see you next time.